All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Saturday edition of the Paranormal Portal. How you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining us. As always, it is our distinct and great pleasure to do these shows, and thank you for being here and being a part of them. That's a distinct pleasure to have you be a part of them as well, and thank you so much. As always, it's Saturday. It's 2 hours of paranormal goodness that you've come to love right here on the portal, and I hope to serve it fresh, as fresh as I can. I don't even know what the hell that means, but it sounds kind of enticing, right? I don't know. But anyway, welcome everybody. And I'm not here alone. I'm joined, of course, by the first branch of my personal family tree, my eldest and just all around wonderful guy, Mr. Sheldon Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. The weather is beautiful here. Android will tell you it's been in the 80s, 70s, and 90s, and well, maybe 90s, but it's been wonderful. The world feels alive and well, and as do I.
The world hasn't woke up over here, though. God, it's been cold and rainy. Everywhere is having a heat wave except for here, right here. Whoops, I beat up my shrunken head. Everywhere else has got this heat wave cooking, and I'm still sitting in 50-degree weather, and it's cold and rainy. It's like, God, let's go. Let's get on with this spring stuff. It's been a long.
Yeah, it's like summer here. It kind of skips spring over here.
Well, I'm good with that. I would be just fine with skipping ahead and let's get the summer thing cooking because I'm ready. I'm sitting here in my shorts, even though I'm kind of freezing. It's an act of rebellion at this point. It's like, nope, it's summer. That's it. Yeah. It's summer. Because that's all I got left is my sheer will. But you doing good? Good.
I'm doing fantastic, actually. How are you doing?
Doing well. It's good to have you back on the show again. And thanks for joining me to march through this episode and see what we can dig up, right?
I think so.
Well, I'll tell you one thing we can dig up, and that is a special thanks to the show sponsor, and that is Cryptid Coin. And I'll tell you, Cryptid Coin is an exciting new cryptocurrency that has cryptid research and investigation at its core. And so it's an investment in Cryptid Coin is an investment in the research and investigation of these cryptids that we so love, such as Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman, like Loch Ness Monster, Champ kind of stuff. I mean, all of it. And so if you want to dive right into it and grab hold of an investment that has your interest at heart, this is it. So you can find out more by going over to cryptidcoin.io and checking it out. It's also available on PancakeSwap for trading. So it might be a great investment. It might not. I'm not qualified to tell you either way, but I know I'm really excited about it. And special thanks to Cryptid Coin for sponsoring the Paranormal Portal. So we got that going for us. So Sheldon, we are fast at it. We've got a lot of fun things going on tonight. And the first fun thing we got is some news. You ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay, well, let's dive into some news. Here we go, folks. The Paranormal Portal news begins now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal news desk, joined by Sheldon, of course. We are going to dive into all the news that I was able to curate on your behalf. And some of it might actually be paranormal, but it's all interesting, at least, I hope. The first one is it's not very long, but this is kind of an exciting development in the cryptid realm, and one that I think I think it really has some merit as far as many of us are familiar with the Homo floresiensis, or however you say that, the new hobbit people that were discovered in a cave. Their remains were discovered in a cave in the island of Flores in Indonesia. And these are apparently a diminutive being, right around 4 feet tall, and they were legendary. Now, the interesting thing is that the legend of these things continues. The claims continue to come in of people citing these diminutive hominids, for lack of a better term, or at least humanoids. I guess that's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Humanoid, hominid? I think so. But anyway, so this is an article from unexplained-mysteries.com, and is the ancient human ancestor hiding in Indonesia? Now, I don't think this is necessarily the same thing as the orang pendek. It might be. It might be, and that's another diminutive hominid that's been sighted in Indonesia. But I kind of have a feeling that, and I know I'm not unique in this, but in the descriptions that I've heard of the orang pendek, it is, and for the record, orang means people, a kind of people, or people, a group of people, and pendek means little. So, but they're often sighted with people seeing them running with their arms above their heads, like much like you'd think a chimpanzee. While they seem to have some distinct, possibly some distinct foot differences and stuff, they may very well just be another branch of orangutan, which hasn't been discovered. They've discovered new breeds of orangutan in Indonesia in recent history, so it wouldn't surprise me much if there was another yet waiting to be discovered. So I don't know if it's the same thing or not. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong. I don't claim to be an expert, but just an enthusiast. But let's see what this article says. A controversial new book claims that the hobbit-like Homo floresiensis, I guess is how you say it, may not have actually gone extinct. Evidence of the mysterious hobbits of Flores, an island in Indonesia, was first unearthed in a cave back in 2003, a discovery that would go on to become the topic of much controversy and debate. Named Homo floresiensis, these pint-sized humanoids are believed to be a previously undiscovered species of human which died out somewhere around 60,000 years ago. However, not everyone is convinced. According to retired anthropologist Gregory Forth of the University of Alberta, these real-life hobbits may not have gone extinct at all and could still be living in the island of Flores today. In particular, he cites reports of an ape-man sightings from people on the island, as potential evidence that these long-lost human ancestors may still be thriving there. We simply don't know when the species became extinct, or indeed, I did dare say, we don't even know if it is extinct, he told Live Science. So there is some possibility that it's still alive. Not everyone in the scientific community agrees with this theory, however. Of course not, because they're a bunch of arrogant bastards. But anyway, that might be me editorializing. That wasn't in the article. The idea that the entire community of prehistoric hominids could continue to survive, they're undiscovered, therefore seems far-fetched to say the least. Realistically, the idea that there's a large primate that is unobserved on the island and surviving in a population that can sustain itself is pretty close to zero, he said. Well, I will say that I think there, of course, Indonesia is on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and so it's obviously very, very volcanically active. And as much as it's active, there may be a whole bunch of extinct lava tubes that are still there that allow these things to move around, pretty much largely undiscovered. People just don't go in these things very often. And there's a very primitive population on the island of Flores. And so if they say they're seeing them, I mean, are we qualified to say, no, you didn't? Nope, you didn't see that. You saw something else. It's swamp gas or something.
Yeah, oh God. So, it's a weather balloon.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little man-sized weather balloon. It landed here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's too far of a reach to say they could still be out there. So we'll keep.
I don't know enough about how scientifically evolution works. The basics we kind of get, but do you think it's possible that it's more of a recent evolution of some species of monkey, ape, or whatnot?
Well, no, I wouldn't think so, because they have found bones that are at least 50 or 60,000 years old.
Oh, well, never mind. Yeah. All right, we're all set then. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was what basically established them as a scientific fact, was finding this cave full of these remains that were somehow, I don't know what had happened to them. Local legend says that they were basically raiding villages and stealing children, and so the villagers all ganged up and basically kind of like the Lovelock Cave incident, where they were kind of quarantined in there and smoked out and until they suffocated. But who knows? It's very interesting, though, that is very similar to the Lovelock Cave incident of the Americas with the Native Americans. dealing with giants. So anyway, I think it's interesting. Whatever you want to believe is fine. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if these things are still out there in some form or measure of population. Who knows how many, but I guess it would have to have enough genetic diversity to not have, all kinds of problems. Or these things are much like rabbits. There's an island, I think in Japan or somewhere, where it's just overrun with rabbits. There were like a handful of rabbits brought in there, and they're capable of creating a genetic diversity even in small breeding populations. So they're able to mutate their genes so that they don't get the inbreeding issues that everything else gets. And so maybe these things are very similar in that they can have close breeding groups, but there's something in their genetics that allows for a mutation to occur that keeps that genetic defects from happening. I don't know. It's just a theory at best, but I think have some merit.
If they are still around, that that indicates that they have adapted to live in however they live. So that's a good point. Yeah,
it might. It might. Who knows? But at any rate, we'll keep watching this and see if anything comes of it. I know there's a lot of research ongoing for the orang pendek in Indonesia, so perhaps some of that effort will be geared towards the Homo floresiensis. Who knows? Anyway, we'll keep watching it, and if anything develops, you can come to the news on the Paranormal Portal, and we'll bring you up to speed. It's like we're some kind of a news authority. No, we're not. We're just a couple of dorks with microphones and an internet full of information. So the next article up on the roster tonight is also from unexplained-mysteries.com, and this one is this is interesting. I remember I did pull this one, but it was yesterday because we ran out of time yesterday for the news. So this one is alien civilizations could be doomed to stagnate or collapse. I have no idea.
How would you begin?
I don't know. It's these kind of things that really make you go, what? Because at the best, this is only theoretical. There's no way they could have any kind of merit for this kind of scientifically. But anyway, two researchers have come up with a possible answer as to why we have yet to encounter intelligent aliens. As the late Douglas Adams wrote, space is big. You just don't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. And while this would certainly explain why we have yet to run into any other advanced civilizations, there could be an even more fundamental reason why, despite our best efforts, we have so far failed to find any evidence of intelligent extraterrestrials. I'm rolling my eyes, Sheldon. In a new study, researchers argue that spacefaring civilizations may be ultimately doomed to either wipe themselves out or to stagnate, thus preventing their expansion across the stars. The argument is based on the idea that as a spacefaring civilization expands, both in scale and in technical advancement, it reaches a point where its growth outstrips its demand for energy. Civilizations either collapse from burnout or redirect themselves to prioritizing homeostasis, a state where cosmic expansion is no longer a goal, making them difficult to detect remotely, the study authors wrote. Okay. Either outcome, homeostatic awakening or civilization collapse, could be consistent with the observed absence of galactic-wide civilizations. The study was based on an analysis of the growth of cities here on Earth. We hypothesize that once a planetary civilization transitions into a state that can be described as one virtually connected global city, it will face an asymptotic burnout. An ultimate crisis where the singularity interval time scale becomes smaller than the time scale of innovation, the authors wrote. I don't even know. I just read a bunch of Greek as far as I can tell. I again, there's no merit for this kind of thinking. Sure, I guess anything's possible, but to even publish that is just like, really? Well, they maybe they're Muppets, and I don't know. It's just, how do they come up with these ideas and then are so willing to invest completely in that possibility? I don't know.
It's the equivalent to me of like someone living in the 1500s trying to say what the world's going to be like in 2025 type of thing.
Sure.
No.
I would say that that's a pretty fair assessment. Yeah. How do we know? We didn't know. We didn't know the way. And in fact, the fact that it seems like most technological advances happen just about by accident. Like, oh, I what was it? Microwaves being used for cooking was just because somebody had ice cream in a lab and realized their ice cream was melting as they were running experiments. It's like, oh, wait, that wasn't intentional. They didn't set out to find a new cooking method, or Post-it notes, for God's sakes. That was somebody's attempt at making a new super glue. So it's like innovation happens usually as an unintended consequence of some other pursuit. So
yeah, antibiotics too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mold grown in petri dishes. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
Let's shoot that into people. That's oversimplification, of course, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody could come to these theories. I mean, it's a valid theory, I guess, and that's fine, but it's just the hubris of it. Like, well, this is what's going to happen or could have happened. It's like, really, it's just like maybe we just can't see them because they're so far advanced to us. We just don't recognize what their technology is. We just have no concept for what kind of technology they are using to do what they do. I mean, it would be akin to magic, as is often stated, technology sufficiently advanced would be indistinguishable from magic. I think that was C. Arthur Clarke that coined that. But anyway, I don't think we understand what we're looking for. So yeah, we're not seeing radio waves coming back or whatever. But anyway, let's move along. Let's move along, Sheldon.
Let's.
And the next one up is, this one's kind of interesting, but this is more visual. So I'm going to put a link to this in the TFR because it does have some visual merit for those people that are there, and including Bam Gemini, great guest, and Brave Character are all in TFR right now. And here's the link for those of you over in the TFR chat so you can follow along. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and this is Milky Way's supermassive black hole seen for the first time. There it is, folks. It's like, wow, that's it. There you go. It's like somebody should have wiped the lens a little bit before they took that shot. It looks like it doesn't look like much anything, really. But let me just read this.
Yeah.
All right. Astronomers have captured the first ever image of the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. That's, I guess, kind of cool, right? That's a long way away. So the image might look like an unremarkable orange blob, but it is in fact a direct capture of the chaotic heart of our Milky Way galaxy, a supermassive black hole known as Sagittarius A. This object is enormous, almost beyond comprehension, measuring 40 million miles across and with a mass equivalent to that of 4 million suns. The actual black hole itself cannot be seen because nothing, not even light, can escape it. However, what can be seen is the cloud of superheated gas swirling around it. So that's superheated gas. I think I've had some of that swirling around me.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying, taco night is not good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, so the image comes courtesy of the Event Horizon Telescope, EHT, project, which previously produced the first ever image of a black hole in 2019. The Milky Way's black hole was our main target. It is our oldest, or our closest supermassive black hole, and it's the reason we set out to doing this thing in the first place, said astrophysicist Professor Sarah Markov. It's been a 100-year search for these things, and so scientifically it's a huge deal. Well, that's cool. The achievement proves once and for all that there really is a supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy and opens up new opportunities for study and research. I'm personally happy about the fact that it really drills home the fact that there is definitely a black hole at the center of our galaxy, said Dr. Ziri Younzi from University College of London. It's a turbulent, chaotic, and quite violent environment, and it made me think, wow, we're quite lucky to live at the edge of the galaxy, actually. Yeah, I think that's probably true. That's
All
probably
jokes
true.
aside, that is pretty cool that we're able to actually take a picture, even if it's really pixelated, fuzzy. It's still we're able to take a picture of a snapshot into the center of our galaxy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean there is merit to it, but if you didn't know what that was, I mean, it's kind of like a
Well, yeah,
lot.
there's no way you can just you know what that is by looking at it.
It's kind of like a lot of Bigfoot pictures. When they got to include the red circle, you know you're in trouble. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that leave. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just being stupid. I'm sure there's some very valid pictures of them peeking through hedges, but
Yeah.
there's also those people out there that swear there's like 15 of them in a rose bush. It's like, are you sure all 15
God,
Bigfoot are in
yeah.
there? It's like, I don't know. I'm not quite on board with that. But
The
anyway,
clown car Bigfoot, yeah.
yeah, exactly. They just pile in. Yep.
Yeah.
They can do that apparently. No, I don't know. I'm just being a dork. Anyway, let's go to the next article from unexplained-mysteries.com. Great site, ladies and gentlemen. Please check them out. They do some phenomenal stuff over there, as you can tell. And we only got 4 minutes. I'm never going to make it through all my articles again. But
Uh-oh.
and then we got a special YouTube break coming up. But anyway, Loch Ness Monster footage hailed as the best in 20 years. I think I'll put a link to this in TFR as well. I don't think we're actually going to watch it. Maybe I'll put it in both chats. If there are those that would like to see it, they certainly can. A couple had been visiting Loch Ness recently and managed to record something unexplained moving through the water. There have been 4 registered sightings in the elusive monster already this year, and the latest one, which was filmed by a couple who wish to remain anonymous, is the most intriguing to date. The couple, who'd been on vacation in Scottish Highlands, had been visiting the iconic loch when they spotted something moving through the water. "We were fairly ambivalent about the Loch Ness Monster," the woman told the Mail online. "We enjoyed the stories, but didn't necessarily believe them. We definitely love for somebody to analyze the video, and if it helps anybody work out what's down there, then it'd be our absolute pleasure. We would be delighted." According to Gary Campbell of the official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register, the footage has been viewed by a photographic expert who confirmed that it shows something moving in the water. "Whatever it is, it's larger than a bird, and it's otherwise difficult to make out what it could be." The footage is available to view on the Mail's online website here. So there is a link in there. And I'll put that in the chat as well on YouTube. So if anybody does want to go check it out, I think it's just going to be some wake being kicked up by something. But at any rate, kind of cool. Maybe it's something new, something interesting. We're down to 2 minutes. I think that might be about as far as we can go with the news. I think that's going to be about it. So let me just make sure I've got the right buttons pushed here. There we go. So there's the links in case any of you want to see it. We're going to be going to the first break of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you on YouTube who are going to get a special treat on the first break and the hour break, and that's all I'm telling you. I'm not saying anything more because you're just going to have to see it. But that'll all be coming up in just a couple minutes, as of 2 minutes right now. But on the other side, we're going to get back into some more reports from phantomsandmonsters.com. We're going to get into some more of the crazy reports of people from Reddit reporting strange things they've seen. And some of these stories are really powerful. I really like these aggregated lists from Reddit, and they're kind of wild because they start a thread and they just farm it for these comments. And some of these stories are incredible. So also, just want to put it out there. If you are not familiar with our podcast, get familiar with it. We release a new podcast every Sunday, and you can find our podcast. This isn't it. This is the YouTube show. So don't say you're on YouTube checking out our podcast, because this is a YouTube show. This is a different thing. The podcast is found, it's audio only. It's found on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, CastBox, Google Play, Stitcher, and a whole bunch more. So if you get a chance, just do a search for the Paranormal Portal and you'll find it. David Zeismer, that's a new name. I have you and Lacey on watching you guys. Okay. All right. Very cool. I appreciate always seeing new listeners. That's really cool. New people out there hanging out, Sheldon.
I like seeing that.
Me too. It means you guys really do love us.
We're a big happy family.
We are. It's the power of love. Okay. Well, anyway, enough of that. Oh, Julia. Hi, Julia. Well, welcome to the show too. We'll have to do some shout outs when we get back, but ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to the break here in just seconds. So hang on to your hats. Those of you that are new to the show, we're broadcasting on networks at the same time. So we have to sync up with the breaks. So it's not because we're lazy. It's just, we got to stay in tune with it. So don't go away. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes for more of the Paranormal Portal.
This the Dogman that's killed my dog. It's just me and the monster. I ain't got nobody in the world that could save me because there's no way that he's alive after that.
As soon as I entered Kentucky, I realized how rural this area was. Episode 335, Dog vs. Dogman, on the Confessionals podcast. I assembled a team together to come down here and look for the Dogman.
Even just when you're in the woods at night, there's always that part of your brain that's populating the dark with the monsters, whether they're there or not. And so that's going on, plus all these stories, plus we had an encounter here the day before that's...
And then it continues to run on after me. I mean, through the woods, and I seen his body flying. There's just no way.
So it's not like, I guess you give them the basics, and then they kind of learn from actually doing it. What was that? Did you see the tree going over there?
Yeah, the whole tree fell down.
Yeah.
And that is the newer Dogman documentary up on the Confessionals YouTube page, ladies and gentlemen. You can check that out. And it's pretty incredible. If you haven't seen it yet, go to YouTube and search for the Confessionals. That is Tony Merkel's his YouTube location for his podcast, The Confessionals. And they did an incredible job putting that together. So definitely check it out. It's definitely one of those that, if you haven't seen it and you're into the Dogman, it's pretty cool. I got to give him credit because he's really been going out there and doing some pretty incredible things as far as going out on location. He's just getting out there and expanding what the Confessionals is, and they're doing a hell of a job at it. So it's a great documentary. It's part one. I imagine there's more parts coming, but it is available now on their YouTube page. So check it out. I don't know. I don't know what it would take to go out there looking for these things, because
the way these, all these stories about them and how terrifying and fast and strong these things are, it takes a whole kind of person, a whole different kind of person to go out and look for these. Oh my God.
That's a whole bunch of courage that I don't currently have. But no, they did a beautiful job putting it together, and they did capture some pretty incredible stuff. So definitely check it out, folks, if you have not already. But I got to get us connected back to the network actually now. So let's get that tied in, and we'll get back to the show. gentlemen, we are back and back at it here on the Paranormal Portal. Thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. As always, I'm going to do some shout outs for the YouTube audience, unless you want to do it, Sheldon.
You know what? I will do it.
Oh. Whatever,
All
dude.
Right. If you guys want to shout out, it is time to chat. So, first up, we have Android Purity, Chopper Sick Balls, Chris Sir HC, David Zesmer, Deb Varner, hello, Ghost Magna 81, Heather K, Nicola Miss Psych, Kirsten Leah.
Kirsten Leah.
Yeah. My bad, I'm sorry. Lava Time. Oh, who jumped in? Gemini Moon. MCAT Paranormal Research, Maggie M10, Mercedes, Luke, Benedict.
Lucky Benedict, yeah.
Paranormal Portal, you're here. Oh,
Damn
Rachel
right.
gets it right. Raspberries, Ron the Sage, Ruger Ridge, Ruthie Castro, Sugar Britches, The Fourth Color, Tracy Gale, and Therese Linnell.
Absolutely
Welcome
wonderful.
in, everyone. Good to see you all here.
Yeah, it is good to see you all here. That means that we must be doing okay, Sheldon.
I think so.
Either that or we got the best chat in the world, which is probably part of it too. We got a great chat community here on the
That's
show.
true.
So we are always thrilled with that. But we got a lot more of the paranormal fun. What happened?
Oh, Heather said, Sheldon pronounced my last name exactly. Yes. All right, good.
Sick. Good job.
I was so nervous reading that one. I'm very happy about that.
Oh, Grassman came in. How you doing, Will? Good to see you, brother.
Grassman.
He's a Bigfoot researcher in the area, actually, and he's threatened me with taking me out and doing some research. I'm not sure how that's working out, but just saying.
Threatened you with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Dragging the old fat guy out there might not work out real well for him, but
It's called bait, Dad.
thank you, Lava Time's bait. Yeah, he's gonna rub me in bacon grease and send me out in the woods. Operation Human Shield. Yeah. Good to see you, Lava Time. Thanks for coming in. Lava Time says you're doing great. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Or were you talking to Sheldon? No, I said Paranormal Portal.
Me.
You're part of it too, Sheldon. You're part of the wonder that is the portal, as are all of you. I mean, this is a hugely community effort. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here and being a part of what we're doing. I've got to open my browser and find some paranormal fun. Here we go.
Let's get into the fun.
All right. Well, we've been working through an article from moneyawaits.com. This is one of those aggregate articles that it's like money awaits. What the hell does that have to do with the paranormal? Well, nothing, except that I don't know why, if it's just an ad farm kind of thing that they go out and pull these huge articles, and sometimes they hit on the paranormal ones, and they have some great takeaways from Reddit threads having to do with paranormal. So let's read some of these. The Money Awaits article we're reading is cops from around the world share cases that make them believe that something supernatural was happening. And some of these have been phenomenal. They're all decent, but some of them have been just like, whoa, that's really wild. So let's get into this, folks, and see just what the hell's cooking here on this article. And we're on number 18, and it says, I was a patrol officer in a large West Coast city for a short period a little while back. The city I worked for had and continues to have a problematic influx of transients. The first thing you learn when dealing with homeless populations is that mental health problems and substance abuse are overwhelmingly abundant. By the end of my stint, I felt more like an armed social worker than a police officer, and that's one of the reasons I left. Yeah, that would be tough because you see people in the worst possible situations, and that's tough. I've always been a horror movie buff. After The Conjuring debuted, I bought a copy of The Demonologist, the biography of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed recounts meeting a homeless man in New York City who spoke as if possessed. It's on page 219, and goes on to say that prolonged cases of mental anguish can lead to influence from otherworldly beings. I think Ed's right. I think that would definitely, they look for weakness, right? So, if somebody's not centered and all over the map, that's going to be a weak target, I think. Anyway, I'm not sure if I believe that, but I always kept it in the back of my mind. I do know certain chemical substances can make the user see or feel the presence of spiritual entities. So many homeless people have addiction problems, I wouldn't be surprised that if these kind of entities are real, they would find ways to mess with people. Well, one night on patrol in a 2-man car, I was flagged down by a disheveled man standing next to a Winnebago. He told me a woman he didn't know was inside with his son and wouldn't leave. After alerting dispatch, my FTO, field training officer, I think, and I knocked on the door and asked if we could come in. The son said yes, and I stepped inside. The woman looked slightly less disheveled than the son, but I could tell she was either on something or mentally ill. The son was lying very still on a cot, looking absolutely terrified. The woman was quietly mumbling something and fidgeting with empty hands. After trying and failing to converse with her, she quickly ran out of the Winnebago. Neither the complainant nor the son wanted to file a report and simply asked us to keep an eye on the area. Well, I agreed, walked back to my car, and slowly drove away. About a block down the road, I saw the woman walking slowly and decided to pull up and try to talk to her again. I'm in the driver's seat and my field training officer is riding shotgun, and we pull up. He rolls down his window and asks for her name. She says it's Rachel and begins to mumble louder and faster. The fidgeting intensifies, and the only intelligible thing she says is that she's always searching. My FTO calmly, patiently asks her the basic questions. Where do you live? Do you know how to get home? Are you hurt or in danger? But he isn't getting anywhere. At this point, I start to feel a little creeped out, but haven't said anything. Something in her eyes told me this is all wrong. Rachel continues to mumble and fidget, but is looking down at her hands. I decided to run a little experiment because I might not get the chance to do so again, and began mouthing the Lord's Prayer. I'm not actually saying anything, just thinking it and moving my lips. The whole time I continue staring at Rachel to make sure she isn't looking at me, which she wasn't, and to make any reaction even more unlikely, I said the prayer in Old English, like Beowulf Old English. That way, even if she glances up at me, it's highly unlikely she'll understand what I'm doing. I finish the part which says, "Deliver us from evil," and Rachel stops mumbling. She jerks her head up, her eyes go wide, and she glares at me for the longest second I've ever felt before sprinting down the street and into an alley. Oof.
Jeez.
That's creepy. Oh my God. Yeah, that's I guess a good litmus test if somebody's possessed is to start spouting Bible verse. That would definitely do it. That was by SACDIN message. I don't know. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Wow. Number 17, a dead biker. Ooh. I was an EMT for a while. We got a call about someone who was riding their bike at breakneck speed when they hit a car head first without a helmet. Oh. We went over immediately, despite the fact that it was broad daylight and we were in the middle of suburbia on a Saturday. Nobody even came to check on this poor guy. Seriously, the streets were empty. Usually a massive crowd gathers around violent accidents like this. So his skull was pretty much smashed in and he was unresponsive. It was the worst head injury I'd ever seen. We assessed that he had a major skull fracture, a concussion, and he was bleeding profusely. He was also missing teeth and had minor road rash, but fortunately he wasn't missing much skin. To give you an idea of how bad it was, this was the kind of injury that most people don't survive. If you did survive, you'd basically be a vegetable. Normally, we would have moved him off the road, but when someone has a head and neck injury, that isn't very safe. My partner, who was also training me, as I was still kind of new, went to check his pulse while I began to unload our gear. He crouched down, felt for a pulse for a while, and then stood up, opened his mouth to say something, and suddenly, the guy jumped up. He didn't use his arms to pick himself up. He just jumped to his feet. It startled the two of us. He looked at us, smiled, and attempted to grab his bike. We tried to stop him, but we didn't exactly want to wrestle him to the ground given his condition. He gets away from us, bolts into the woods without his bike. My partner was in even more disbelief than I was. He just stared at where the man had run off, mouth agape, and then he turned to me and muttered, "He had no pulse, man." I asked him if he was sure, and he swore up and down that the biker was clinically dead. We contacted the authorities for assistance, and they sent a search and rescue team into the forest. I don't know if he was found or not, because we normally don't get much information about patients after they go to the professionals. Keep in mind, this was the Pine Barrens, so they had a lot of ground to cover, and my best guess is he went to a loved one's house out of confusion. And what I found odd about this is head injuries bleed, so you'd think the guy would leave a long red trail of blood for the cops to follow. Whoa. So his head was smashed in. That's creepy. That's really creepy.
I'm either getting getting red flag vibes
from the story,
or from the story.
Well,
it's like a skinwalker type of situation. That's what I'd say.
Well, that is right. You're a medic, military medic. So, have you ever seen somebody get up without their arms after they've taken a head injury? I don't even know what that looks like. Is that like a Jackie Chan kind of thing where you just and then you're up on your feet, or?
As far as it's described, it sounds like he jumped up, but you can't. Well, it would have to be like a Jackie Chan thing. You can't just jump up otherwise. I don't think.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's actually a weird one.
And you're right. And folks, we don't pretend to know that these are real or not. We just don't know. They are presented as real stories. So
I just have a hard time believing that anyone who's doing medical assistance would just let someone run away. You don't do that.
I mean, would you want to grab onto him if he was all mushy anyway? Because, I mean, what would you do? You could, if he's going to make it, you don't want to vegetable him, make him a veggie, right? I don't know.
But if you let a victim leave a scene, you're liable for that. You're completely liable.
Oh.
I believe so. I mean, obviously I'm not a licensed EMT anymore. It expired. So, but I'm pretty sure you'd be liable for that. But I don't know for sure.
That's crazy. Wow. Whatever the case. And again, we don't know if it's real, but if that's real, that's really cooks my bacon. And that was by Comp Sci 2000. So, wow. That's not the thing you want to see much, I'll bet. Okay.
No.
Number 16, probably dementia, right? My partner and I received a 911 call from an old woman having a dispute with someone. Well, we get to the house and she says she's alone. And we ask her, well, who are you having the dispute with? She says, oh, just this spirit in one of my rooms. Immediately, my partner and I look at each other and give the old, she's elderly, it's probably dementia or something along those lines kind of look. As we're talking to her, she's explaining how sometimes a bad spirit comes around, and she states that he's in the back room, and of course, the lights don't work. We try to tell her that spirits probably aren't in her house, and we have to get to another 911 call, and she insists we check it out. So we do. Now the house, the way she was speaking about spirits, made me believe something was there. When we got to the room and she opened the door, seeing a ghost wouldn't have shocked me. She did say it's usually in the corner up on the ceiling. Well, that corner was dark and had the freakiest shadow that legitimately was terrifying. My partner and I shine our flashlights around the whole room, and thankfully, nothing was there. We told the lady, nope, you're good, nothing going on here. I said to her, if you feel like there's a spirit there, the NYPD really can't help you. Go to a local church or religious institution of your choosing, and best of luck. We got the heck out of there. Yeah, I guess there's some things you're just not equipped to handle, and probably exorcising spirits isn't in the job description.
Indeed.
Yeah. J. Tess, again, 265 was that author. That's creepy, though. And shadow things they're always wacky. I mean, that's usually what people start seeing when they're dealing with a haunting. It's the shadow figures. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounded like the old lady was kind of on her game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Number 15, Darker on Darker. Before my dad became a state police officer, he did some security work at a big factory. He's not normally a superstitious person, so when he told me this story with such a weird seriousness to it, I kind of scared the poop out of me. Nice. He's always said, I don't mess with that stuff regarding supernatural things. This story is in the early 80s. While working at the factory, he always had the night shift. It was just him in the big factory. He had his own little room where he could watch TV, listen to the radio, or do whatever, but the rest of the factory, for the most part, besides the exits, was dark. His job was to actually patrol the factory every hour. He'd get up, grab his flashlight, and just stroll around the place, going down row by row, peeking his head out left to right. One night, he set out to do his usual run with a flashlight in hand, but he could see that something was unusual to his eye. When he walked out into the dark, you know that sensation you get when your eyes adjust to the room and you can just start to make out certain objects, but nothing full or whole? There was something darker in the main hall or row, and it was moving. Well, he paused for a minute, and as his eyes fully adjusted, there seemed to be nothing. He took a second to swipe the factory with his light, and then decided that he was just seeing things. He went down into the main row and started his run. Everything was normal, nothing out of the ordinary. He was still a bit on edge, seeing as the factory without a big moving shadow was creepy enough. Then, when the rows of the factory ended, there was a big open area at the end, and this was the entrance to the factory. Normally there would be a light at the front door, but tonight it had dimmed lower. He thought that it was weird and really began to sweat, so instead of investigating any further, he turned from the exit and went back to go back to the main row and get back up to his room. That's when, in the corner of his eye on the right side, he could see what he described as a black cloaked figure. His light hit it, and he saw it, tall and distinctly human-like. But he didn't stop. He just went right back to his room, locked the door, and stayed there until it was light out. He left the factory and called the owner up to tell him he wouldn't be returning to the job. And I don't blame him. That was by Air Jackie Q. Yeah, that's creepy. I used to do security work way back when, and there were some places that you just knew something was there. You just know it. And I can't say I ever saw anything weird like that that was really creepy, but sometimes you just had that feeling in the air like, I don't feel right about this tonight. And you don't know. I mean, it could be anything. I do think that everybody has a sixth sense. Like we have this ability to know, like when we're being watched, as we discussed with Wes when we talked to him on the show, and it comes up all the time. And people having paranormal experiences is like, they'll be walking around and suddenly get that feeling like, boom, they feel like they're being watched, and and then things start to go sideways. So I don't know. I think when you get those feelings, you got to pay attention to them. Gut feelings are powerful. Wouldn't you agree, Sheldon?
Oh yeah, especially with gut feelings. That's something that I've learned, that when you have a gut feeling, it's usually for a reason, at the very least. But have you ever gotten those instances where in security you'll be just sitting in your desk, whatever, and you'll hear like these footsteps when there shouldn't be anyone in the building, type of thing?
I don't think so. When I worked in corrections, I was sometimes in the watch command and had to run the shift at that time, and it was an old building, like a couple 100 years old, and there were times where I could hear the floors squeaking, like somebody was walking down them, but I never heard the footfalls, but I just heard the squeaking of the floorboards above me, and it was like, well, I know nobody's up there, but it was one of those things that the building was locked, everything was secure, and all the counts cleared, so it's like, well, I'm not touching that. That was not in the job description at all. So I don't know. Why did you have that happen?
Yes, there was an office building I was working at in Bloomington, and that's something I would because it was actually one of the buildings that Buffalo Wild Wings, one of their chef kitchens were at, and One Christmas they gave me a gift card. That was nice. But there was this big
little quick segue. That was nice. Okay, moving on.
My brain spiderwebbed. But there's this big auditorium that we were. The office was kind of in the corner of, and there'd be this big cage type of thing. It was interesting, but in the auditorium, I would sometimes hear like footsteps walking like around this like fountain thing that was there, and I'd always come out, and there'd be no one there, and all the lights were off, like all the floors, the lights were off. Everybody was not there, and so that would happen like at least once a week. But I understood it was just, I don't know, it was either paranormal in some respect, whether it's what would you call it, apparition, or if it was
intelligence.
It was never negative. It was just something that would happen.
Now, did the footsteps stop as soon as you look out there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
It was like always right. It was like when I was getting up from my chair, then there'd be no footsteps and nobody's there. So.
Wow, that's crazy. Hold on.
Android. There's more than just that Android that I have.
What did he say?
He said, Sean's been holding back this paranormal experience all this time? Yes.
Well, yeah.
Oh, man.
You got to understand, Sheldon and I lived together for a lot of years, and we both saw a lot of weird stuff through the years.
Oh, yeah. Yes, plenty of weird stuff.
Yeah, very much so. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, that's a real common event, though, when people are hearing the footsteps, or like a lot of times it's like these auditory hallucinations, almost like people have these experiences of like sitting in a living room and suddenly it sounds like every dish in the kitchen just blew out of the cupboards and smashing noises.
Oh, God,
and they get up and they go in there and it's absolutely pristine. It's like an auditory hallucination of some sort. And I think that's an intelligent haunt. I think that's just something playing with the people, like, and spirits seem to be able to do that. Hold on, I got a cough. Yeah, thanks for doing. I try to cover my coughs because I'm trying to be pro, but thanks for wrecking that. I appreciate that.
Just trying to voice act. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay if it's muted. But I will say that I think that there's also many instances. The clairaudience, I think, is a very real thing, and I think sometimes people don't realize that they're getting it, because there's a lot of cases also where people will be in groups and somebody will hear something like a voice go, hey, or a crying or some other audio phenomenon like that, and freeze up, and everyone else is like, what's going on? And they're like, don't you hear that? Don't you hear that crying? And the other people there will be like, no. Or two people will hear it and one person won't. And it may be a measure of the sensitivity of each of those people, but I think that those are energetic phenomena, not necessarily audio phenomena legitimately. But I don't think the people experience it can differentiate it, because to them it does sound like it's a sound they're hearing. It's that real. So
have you had I mean, I might just be misremembering or not remembering your experiences of them, but have you ever had any instances where you would have like scratch marks in random places where you couldn't necessarily do them yourself? Like, let's say it was the middle of the bag, like down the spine, like right in the middle, or it's like you can't get a clear, distinct mark and you can't debunk it, type of thing.
Well, I don't know that I've ever been in the position where I can't debunk it, because I'm a restless sleeper. Like, I'll wake up and the covers are everywhere. Like, I know I've been doing something in my sleep, maybe wrestling or whatever. But so I never I've woken up with scratches, of course, but I never can be confident that it wasn't just because of my sleeping and tossing and turning, somehow catching myself on something or accidentally scratching myself. And I can't see my back, so I don't know. I never know what the hell's going on back there. So, but yeah, I of course I'm familiar with those claims, and I'm sure people do experience that stuff. I think some of the most profound of those, I think, comes when people are paranormally investigating, and they feel this burning sensation, and they look, right, and they actually see the welt raise like it happened, but they obviously didn't scratch themselves, well, unless it's just creative editing. But those are experiences I think are more profound to me than people waking up with, hey, where the hell did that come from? Because there's any number of reasons or ways to scratch yourself when you're asleep. But if you start with the feeling of that burning sensation and then you look down and the welts appear, then that to me is much more profound.
Okay.
So Lava Time says, I have, but just chalked it up to being a kid, but who knows? Yeah. I mean, that's the tough thing. It's hard to quantify those kind of phenomena when they happen, because it may very well be paranormal, but it may very well not be. I know that I've also scratched myself on things and was kind of half aware of it. But anyway, we'll be right back, folks. We're going to go to the second break of the night, so don't go away. More of the Portal in just a couple minutes.
Few stories capture the imagination more than cannibalistic
That looks really cool. All right, I'm going to reconnect the network here, so hold on.
Wow, that was epic.
Wasn't it? Yeah, Wes does such a brilliant job with that stuff. It's crazy. He's just such a creative soul. All right, where do I got to do? I got to do this. I don't usually. Let's see. There we go. All right, getting the network back.
Wes, if you're here, amazing job.
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force, it is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances have a fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Yeah, you guys, I wish I can take credit for any of that, but that was those of you on YouTube, of course, watched during the break, watched promo from Sasquatch Chronicles After Dark, which is a new show that Wes is rolling out, and it's really exciting. It was a really, really well done. That freaking flute just cracks me up, though.
No one cares. Oh my God. Couldn't believe it.
Oh, that was so clever. So well done. The guy's like a creative savant. It's just amazing. So, yeah, if you missed it, you'll have to watch that replay on YouTube for those of you that are out listening to the sound of my voice, but maybe not paying attention. So there is a visual element to all of our shows. You can watch them live on YouTube if you're not already there, and you can see exactly what a mess this actually is.
Oh, whatever.
The portal is...
Speak for yourself.
Ooh, nice. Way to roll me under the bus there. This is my first branch. I'm going to have to trim that
Gently.
tree.
I did it gently.
Going to have to prune some branches.
Okay, yeah.
No, but welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the second hour now. It's cruising through, and we've been going through a special thanks to both the confessionals, which was the first break, the promo teaser or trailer for his Dogman project, which is brilliant. And that part one is live on the confessionals page, and of course the Chronicles After Dark is going to be coming out in the near future. So there's all kinds of great things coming out, folks, and I'm just glad to be somehow affiliated with it all. Hopefully, there'll be some amazing things coming from the portal too, but we'll just see what we can manage to wrestle in. But at any rate, let's get back to this article that we've been going through. And these are, it's from moneyawaits.com. And that's what I've always found, that it awaits. I'm just waiting for it to arrive.
It just keeps awaiting. That's all.
Oh, special thank you too to KJW.
Yes.
For that super chat. Very cool. That means a lot. It really helps out a bunch. So, but we're going to dive back into this article from moneyawaits.com, and it's cops from around the world share cases that made them think that something supernatural was happening. It's been a really good article. I love these stories. Do you like it, Sheldon?
Mm-hmm. I love it so far, yeah.
Okay, good. Because we're going to be working on this for a while. So, and then later on, we'll get into a couple of reports from phantomsandmonsters.com and one other thing that we'll see. Maybe one other thing, but at any rate. What the hell was this? Oh, wait, let me just check a tab quick if you guys don't mind. I got to see what it was. Oh, yeah, I already had it. Okay. Got it. Let me do this and get back to that article, and we'll continue on here. We're on number 14, and this is Fast Floating. And it was, and let me read it. Sorry.
Sounds good.
Thanks. This is how it works. This is what you guys have come to expect from the portal. Like, we're this unpolished, spontaneous disaster, but we have a lot of fun doing it. So, number 14, Fast Floating. It was a late summer night when we were responding to a call in a rural area. My partner and I were driving down a winding 2-lane highway in the middle of nowhere. No light of any kind other than the headlights and the moon. We're coming up on a sharp right turn when I see a man traveling across the grass from an area of brush. He's moving very quickly and smoothly as if riding a bicycle. No up and down motion like running. Obviously, I'm pretty confused about a guy on a bike in the middle of the night, but not surprised. He comes to a tree and stops. Sounds awful squatchy to me, but anyway. And it's about this time we're driving by him, and I look out the window and see a man standing next to this tree with no bike or anything in sight, just standing there staring at the truck passing by. My hair is standing up, and we continue towards the call, and I ask my partner if he'd seen that guy, and his response was, "Man, I thought that I was crazy." That was by Daring Donkey. So I guess it was a man, but that is really peculiar that it didn't have the characteristic up and down of a person running, and there was no bike. So it's like it was gliding, which is oftentimes what people report as far as the mechanics of seeing a Sasquatch move. It's just very, if you ever watch those videos of like cheetah when they're pursuing those prey, and even in the slow motion, you'll see their legs are just exploding under them. These cheetah are just these explosions of speed and power and finesse and grace. But if you look at their head, it's like it's riding on a plane. It's not up and down. They're just totally dialed in. So like their legs are going crazy behind them, but their head is just, and that's kind of what I envision when people talk about the graceful moves of a Sasquatch, how it moves so quickly, and yet it's not the up and down bobbing. And when you watch the Patterson-Gimlin film, it's the same kind of thing. It's just, she's not, bouncing as she's walking. She's just gliding along, and her legs are doing their thing, and and the head is on a plane. It's really, really fantastic as far as evidence, in my opinion. But at any rate, let's see. It says number 13 is the one we're on now. All Eyes on Me. For a bit, I worked security at a shopping mall. My partner and I already had a feeling this place was haunted, and one reason being the homicide that happened right before I was hired. The very west of the mall made my hair on my neck stand up the most. I don't know why. It's also good to note that there is a animal shelter at this end of the mall, and you can see the cats and dogs through the windows at night. They would bark and whine a lot. One night I was walking to that end of the mall, and I started feeling like someone was following me or walking behind me. When I got to the shelter, none of the animals were making noise, but I swear to God, all the ones that were awake were staring at or behind me. I really got bad goosebumps and a horrible feeling in my gut. I put my head down and walked as fast as possible out the closest door. Once I was outside, all the negative feelings went away. That was by the Copenhagen Cowboy. Yeehaw! Yeah, that's weird. Not atypical though. Yeah. It's a very common claim. Again, it's that knowing when you're watched, you also tend to know when someone's there, even just following you.
Even animals staring at like seemingly nothing, that's always a creepy thing to me.
No, I would agree wholeheartly. Number 12, the dog heard it too. I was doing nighttime canine training at a local abandoned sanatorium, I guess, hospital that was owned by the state. The building is comprised of the old section, which was largely converted to offices, and a newer section, which looks like a standard hospital. We had several guys and their canine partners training that night, and all of the dogs stay out in their respective patrol vehicles while they are not being used or training. For this night, everyone is conducting training in the basement of the newer section of the hospital. They're running scenarios where the dog searches the building and finds the bad guy in a bite suit and bites the bad guy. Well, my dog isn't in that stage of his training yet, so I go off to another floor of the hospital with my head trainer to do other training. Myself, my pup, and the head trainer go to the third floor of the building and begin training. The hospital has a central area which looked to be a nurse's station. Several long hallways lead away from the nursing station, and I'm standing in a hallway with my dog facing the nurse's station. The hallway continues for about another 40 yards behind me and has multiple rooms. I put my dog in a sit-stay and begin listening to the instructions from my trainer. Both I and my dog are focused on what my trainer is saying. Wow, the dog can focus on what he's saying. While the instructor is going on, my dog looks back at the hallway behind me. Just as he does this, I hear a deep, mumbled male voice behind me. I interrupted the trainer and turned my head to listen. As I turn my head, the voice fades out. Once the voice fades out, my dog looks forward again. I'm a little freaked out at this point. The hospital is locked down tight, and we also walked through to make sure that no one was squatting. Even if we missed a squatter, you would think that announcing multiple times, "Police Canine, come out now," or "Announce yourself. If not, I'm sending the dog and you'll get bit," would drive someone out. I believe in ghosts, but I do not think I was hearing the conversation of the other guy's training. We were 4 floors away in a large hospital. After this happened, I went looking for the noise, but never found anything. That was by Sale_naked. Obviously, it had an impact on the guy.
I think stories like that, like especially when you're in an old abandoned hospital or a prior hospital, it makes me think it's like an echo, basically.
Right. Maybe
like from another period.
Oh, like just a residual thing.
Yes, yeah. That's what it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, and not from the other people that are 4 floors away.
I mean, it could be too. I mean, it's maybe I don't know. Maybe through a vent or whatever, noise gets. I don't know, but other than that, I think it could be like a residual echo from another period, possibly.
Yeah, it sure could be. And, you know, who knows the nature of these things for sure. But yeah, that's certainly plausible. All right, number 11, the boots. My dad used to work as a correctional officer in Goulburn Jail. There's a place called Goulburn, okay, in Australia, which is probably one of the oldest and hardest prisons there. A story he tells of his time there is one I always remember. He said that the whole place was creepy anyway, not helped by some of the inmates at the time, including the notorious Ivan Milat, on which Wolf Creek is based. Anyway, the first thing he noticed was that dogs would outright refuse to enter the prison. He said they couldn't get them past the gate no matter how hard they tried. But the creepiest occurrence was one night when they heard the sound of running booted footsteps. Everyone was in their cells, so they couldn't figure out what was causing it. Next thing, all the doors of the open and unoccupied cells on the top floor were banged shut, one after the other with loud clangs. And then they see the source of the running noise. Now, Dad swears this is what he and his colleagues, so he has another witness, saw. Apparently, they looked up and saw what looked like disembodied hobnail boots running down the aisle right over their heads, banging as they went. Dad decided to stop working at the prison not long after this. Super creepy. Yeah.
Indeed, that'll do it.
Yeah, that was by Strawberry Gnome. Now, I will say that there are places that I've always been warned about, and I've said this many times throughout the course of the show, but the places where you have to worry about spirits hanging out are bars, prisons, and hospitals. And I suppose it makes sense. There are certain beliefs that some people believe that some earthbound spirits try to walk in. In other words, it's not quite the same thing as possession. It's just they try to take over. And I don't know if when they walk in, they try to kick your soul out or how that works. But the belief is that, of course, when people are drinking, they are weakening their aura. And there creates holes in the aura for these walk-ins to happen. And also, of course, prisons and hospitals are two places where people are in a lot of pain. They're in a lot of suffering. They may be devastated and feel great sadness, or any number of emotions will play out in those situations. I would imagine even more so prisons than anywhere, but hospitals, I think, can be very, very tragic and sad places. So the belief, as I understand it, is that these emotions, these negative imprints, draw in the darker energies and perhaps give them a place to hide or to hang out that's energetically aligned with them or something. I don't know. But at any rate.
I think you're right. Like, as far as if you're comparing to any other place, it's comparatively, energy wise, it's like a feeding pit for dark energies, I would assume.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that a lot of people, and Don actually found this information out a few years ago when we were researching for a show, and it was an interview from Coast to Coast. I think with George Norrie, but it might even have been an old Art Bell. I don't remember which, but at any rate, this guy that was being interviewed was had trained to be a shaman with, I think, the Cherokee, but it might have been some other tribe of Native Americans. But he talked about shadow people, and he said in his training and what he learned was that shadow people are often regarded as these horrible, evil things, but in the traditions of the First Nations, the shadow people have a very utilitarian role in that they come and they help to remove negative energy. They subsist on it and maybe feed on it. And so they draw it out from people, from places and such like that. And I think, wow, that's kind of neat. Because of course, shadow people, there's been several bad experiences people have had dealing with shadow people, but there's also just as many reports of people seeing them hanging around, but they just seem to be kind of a benign presence. And Perhaps they're not all one and the same. Maybe there are dark, shadowy things that are horrible, and then there are some like this that are actually trying to help balance things. Because, I imagine, like everything else in nature, nature seeks a balance. And so maybe the role of these things is to help restore balance to places that are dark or people that are dealing with a lot of darkness. So it's not always a bad thing, apparently. Now, I can't speak with any authority to that, but I think it's interesting because oftentimes people hear, oh, dark. Well, it's shadow people, horrible, and they just go with that. But what if it's just a misunderstanding in some cases, that they are actually being helpful? And I think that's kind of cool.
Like a yang, in a sense.
Sure. Every yin needs a yang. So, I don't know. Just interesting thought. But at any rate, we have the next one, number 10. Something in the riverbed. I was supervising on an evening shift in a small town in rural Australia. We have a large river that snakes its way past the town and runs close to some of the residential areas. It's 1 kilometer wide in some parts, has steep banks, and thick bush in the bed where it's dry. When it's dry, I guess. One of the crews were tied up with something, and the other was attending to 2 brothers threatening to hurt themselves after having a fight at a residence near the bank of the river. I heard the job and attended to give my crew a hand. Once, upon arrival, one brother had been restrained and sent to a hospital to prevent him from harming himself. Most of the crew went with him, and I was left alone. The family told me the other brother had run off down the riverbank. Well, I parked my unit at the top of the bank with the lights pointed into the bush, hoping that if the other brother saw my lights, he'd come towards me. It was dark and rainy at this point. I got out my torch and made my way down the bank. I found a small clearing, and a small distance away was a thick bush. I heard something moving in the bush. It sounded like something taking deliberate steps, and I yelled out thinking it was the guy I was after. I told him I was here to help and pleaded with him to come out. No response. When I was talking, whatever it was stopped moving. I kept talking, attempting to make contact as my instincts told me someone was in the thick bush in front of me. No response. My torchlight couldn't penetrate the bush, but I could hear distinct footfalls. I stopped making any noise, turned off my light, and stood still listening. I heard movement coming towards me in the bush. I remained still and listened. It came closer. Without thinking, my hand went down to my gun, and I was ready to draw. I turned on my light and walked forward and heard whatever it was moving away from me. I backed off, turned off my light, and remained silent. It started coming closer to me, probing my position. I repeated the exercise once more, and once more it backed off and came back at a different angle. By this stage, I was on high alert. Something told me to get the heck out. Any animal that was down there would have been run off upon my approach. Once I got the overwhelming feeling to leave, I backed off with my hand on my gun, and I didn't turn my back until I had climbed up the bank. Once at the top and back near my car, I felt a lot better, but I could still hear something moving in the bush. I stayed there for a while as I was curious. I left and conducted inquiries, finding the missing brother on the other side of town, fast asleep and fine. And to this day, I don't know what I ran into down in the riverbed that night. Yowie. I'm just going to say yowie.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I mean, it could be anything, right? But it sounds like it was physical. Whatever it was making noise and clanking through or in the brush. But I don't know. That was by Officer Bad. Sometimes these usernames crack me up more than anything.
True.
Officer Bad. What'd you do with Officer Good?
Oh my God.
Sorry. It's free, folks.
Ooh.
Maybe I should do this one. I'll take the wow.
That's better. Yeah.
Thanks. All right. Number 9, descriptions give power. EMT here. I once had a call at our local... What?
Oh, I just said, that's all. Yeah.
Okay. I once had a call at our local mall. I showed up and an 8-year-old was having breathing problems. Her mother, aunt, and cousin had just been caught stealing, and it was late at night. We assumed the breathing problem was stress induced. Once we got into the back of our unit, she looked my partner and myself in the eyes and said that she lived in a bad place. She said she lived with demons, and I kid you not, as she described the demons, her heart rate plummeted from 90 beats per minute down to 45 in a matter of seconds. My partner and I looked at each other and immediately started trying to lighten the mood and preparing for a code. She ended up being okay, but I will never forget that experience. That was by Lexi Lawson. Yeah, that's pretty horrible if a kid's dealing with something dark like that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't pretend to know much about heart rates and stuff, but I assume 45 is a real bad place to be.
It's really, really, especially for a kid, yes, that's really low.
Oh, okay. So like unconscious kind of low, or what are we talking here?
I would like to say, but I don't remember anymore.
Oh. Okay.
I'll be honest, I don't
lost
remember.
to time. All that knowledge is lost to time. Well, if anybody in the chat knows, let us know. I think 45 sounds pretty bad, but
it's very low.
And I think judging by the narrative of the story, yes, it's very low, but I don't know what 45 beats versus 90 means. 45 bad, Raspberry says. Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. We'll just go with that. It's bad. Number 8, definitely disturbed something. I was on the Coast Guard back in 2008. I was deployed to the Caribbean, whatever you want to say, on a counter-substance/migrant interdiction patrol. God, you'd love these big official words. We ended up coming up on a chug-chug. Chug-chug. It sounds like a new chat name. I swear to God. Slang term for a terrible boat thrown together using spare parts. That was ridiculously overloaded with Dominicans and Haitians heading for Florida. As per protocol, we dropped our small boats in the water and ferried all of the people onto our boat and set up a small camp for them on our flight deck. To preface this next part, apparently voodoo and other weird cult-like religions are pretty prevalent in DR. I don't know what DR is, and Haiti. Dominican Republic, of course. Yeah, okay. I think the Caribbean in general. So we set up the camp and started medically evaluating the children, depressing to say the least, and some of the ones that look out of shape or complain of some ailment, most of the time hoping to get medevaced off the boat to the U.S. While this was happening, I was standing on the fantail, helping collect and inspect the odd bags and other belongings that were found in the vessel before we scuttled it. Well, I don't know what's an LTJC, I don't know, or JG, I don't know. That was going through this little duffel bag, pulls out what he looks to us like a brick of illegal substances, wrapped in a nice and tight in some kind of burlap material and cellophane. Upon unwrapping it, we found this shabby old leather-bound book with weird symbols and stuff in it, as well as a few weird-looking wooden statues and other weird little trinkets. Well, as soon as we opened the book and started inspecting these stupid-looking wooden statues, we hear this blood-curdling shriek almost directly above us. We dart out from under the overhang and look up on the flight deck to see this older-looking woman absolutely losing her mind, screaming, flailing around wide-eyed. I thought she was having a seizure, but she was apparently yelling out in Creole something to the effect of, "The spirit has been disturbed and that we need to contain it, lest death sweep through our ship." We're going to come back to this on the other side, but time for the last break, ladies and gentlemen, and hope you stick with us. We'll be right back in a couple minutes, so don't go away. All right, Sheldon and I were just giving each other high fives, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we did hit the break. Sorry about that, but we're covering a story that's dealing with somebody in the Coast Guard. They'd stopped this junky boat that was all weighted full of immigrants from the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and they found this weird bundled item and unwrapped it, which contained a book with all these weird symbols on it and these weird wooden statues. As soon as they opened it, some old lady above them that couldn't even have seen what they were doing started freaking out, saying that the spirit has been disturbed and they need to contain it, or otherwise everybody will die. So we're going to pick it up there right now, and then we're going to get to a call right after that. So but here it is. So it said she was muttering something to the effect of the spirit has been disturbed and that we need to contain it lest death sweep through our ship. Our security guys are having a good time getting this lady to chill and can't even pick her up to remove her from the flight deck. The corpsman comes over to evaluate her, and my LTJG and I go back to looking through all of the things we found on the boat. We get a final chuckle out of the weird stuff from the duffel bag mentioned earlier, and he closes the book, puts everything back in the little bundle it came in, and wrapped the burlap material back around it. Almost instantly, the wailing and panic shrieks above us stop. I look up at my LTJG with a look of relief, but as I make eye contact with him, he glances down at this burlap bundle, walks over to one of the stanchions, and says, "Screw this," as he hurls the burlap overboard. According to our corpsman, the woman returned to normal once she calmed down and had no recollection of her manic episode. That was by Energy Panther. So,
wow.
Interesting stuff. I don't know. Yeah, there's, I know that with our Western sensibilities, we like to, make a joke out of things like that, like, oh, magic and all that weirdness, but you just got to remember, folks, this stuff was basically a part of cultures for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So,
millennia, yeah.
Millennia even, yeah. So, but that's that. We're going to get
to
what?
Go ahead. Let me, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you remember what your very first paranormal experience was?
Well, the one that sticks out, of course, I didn't really have, I don't recall having any when I was younger. The first one that I had was the growling, that I can say that I believe is my earliest paranormal experience. And that was the hiking down the bluff and having that huge growl coming from right behind us. But I don't think I had any ghostly experiences until well after that. And I think it was when I had the house on 3rd Street. That was where all of that kind of started. And
wow,
it was a very, very active house, though. There was a lot of things that had happened through the years there. No, I can't say that. No, it was the place that we lived on up on the new house that my uncle had built that we moved into. That's where it started, because we hadn't yet lived in the 3rd Street house. So that, I think, is the earliest experiences. Now, I'd played with Ouija boards and things like that prior to that, but never had anything I could be convinced was legitimate. But the weirdness started in that brand new house. It was brand new. We were the first people ever to live in it. And that was where, all kinds of strange activity started, including my shower story of being in the shower and all the water going cold and opening the curtain at the end to find the hot water blasting in the sink. So, but that, I guess, other than the growling, the growling's the first thing that I can really remember. I'm sure there's others, but I don't know. It's just it's been a long journey. Can't keep it all straight anymore. So,
understandable.
Hi, buddy. But let's get to this call and find out what's going on. This is, of course, our good friend, Mr. Android, who's on the horn. Are you there, Android?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, brother. So,
hi, Android.
So before we start, can you give a little recap of what happened, a quick recap of what happened before, and then bring us up to speed with what's going on now?
Yeah, so a quick recap for Sheldon and anybody who missed the Wednesday show. I'd called in and basically had explained what had happened to me over the past few weeks or so. I'm living by myself right now. My girlfriend's out of state, taking care of some stuff in her home state, and I had been getting a feeling, and going to bed at night, just kind of like, something feels like it's watching me in the hallway, and it was a strong enough feeling. It kind of bothered me enough to shut the door most of the way, but just leave it cracked for my cat. And I never felt that way before, but I didn't think much of it. I just thought I was being a little paranoid because I was by myself. A few days after, couple weeks after go by, I'm in the shower one day, and basically I'm just facing the shower head, and to the left of me, the shower door, which is like a frosted, foggy kind of glass. So you can't see through it, but you can see figures, or if there's somebody standing on the other side, and the sink and stuff like that. And you just can't make out the details. And out of my peripheral vision, but it was more than just peripheral vision. It was like on the border of main vision and peripheral vision. I saw like a tall, skinny, black shadow that I couldn't see the top. I didn't see where the top ended. It was too fast. And that just went, kind of almost appeared out of nowhere around the sink area, and then went around the corner. And it was like pretty fast. It was like a half second, but it was more than just seeing something out of the corner of your eye. It was like I clearly saw it. It wasn't like just my eyes playing tricks on me. But at the time, I was like, it was probably my eyes playing tricks on me because it was a little too far out of my vision. And then a few more nights later, I was in the shower again. This time, I wasn't even looking out the glass door at all. I was looking down on the ground, washing my foot or my leg or something, and all of a sudden, a huge shadow cast over top of me and over the wall to my right, blacked out my entire, the shadow covered the entire wall for as far as I could see almost. It covered the whole wall for at least a whole second, maybe a second and a half, probably actually closer to a second and a half, 2 seconds. By the time I turned around, there was nothing there. It was gone. And there's only one light in this bathroom. There's no windows. And so obviously something was there. And that's when I realized the shadow I'd seen a few nights before was definitely something there. It wasn't my imagination.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
So anyways, catching up now to last night, apparently, Brent's like, give us a call if something escalates. But I'm downstairs after the show last night in the kitchen, and I hear a large bang upstairs. I could tell something fell and hit the floor. I thought it was maybe my cat, but because I knew she was upstairs. I was up there maybe 20 minutes before this. 20, 30 minutes before this, maybe even less than that. And when I left, she was sleeping on the bed in the master bedroom. But I went back up there within 30 seconds of hearing that bang, and I went up there, and my heater, it's a tall, slim, standing heater, was knocked on the floor. Brent can share the picture if you'd like, but it was knocked on the floor, and my cat was actually on the floor too, about 3 feet from it. And I thought, well, maybe she knocked it over, but I don't think I'm about 98% sure she didn't, because first of all, I've had that heater there for a couple of years and she's never knocked it over. Mm-hmm. And also because it was spun a different way than I had it standing up facing. And actually in that picture that Brent is showing, you can see, if you look really closely, maybe if you zoom in where it was sitting, you can see the indentation in the carpet, or where it was sitting before it had fell over.
Oh, yeah.
And which was like kind of right above the cord there. There's a little circle kind of indentation right above the cord there. Mm-hmm. And so it's actually like where the base fell over is like maybe a half foot in front of where it was sitting. So I took that picture before I stood it back up because I wanted just to kind of document it. And that's after I stood it up there. That's the way it was facing. And it's not the exact spot it was, but that's the way it was facing before it fell over. Mm. And I was like, well, maybe it like fell over and rolled. I know it's very sturdy. It's not going to fall over by itself. But I thought maybe my cat stretched out on it. So I was like, I knocked it over just gently to see what would happen. I did it a couple times, and I couldn't get it to roll over, knocking it over diagonally, sideways. And then I thought, well, even if it was her and she was stretching out on it or something, mm-hmm. then it wouldn't have fell to the left. She was facing it towards the grill of where the heat comes out. And if she was leaned, stretched out on it to like scratch her claws or whatever, it would have fell backwards onto the trunk. It wouldn't have fell to her left.
Oh,
so it made no sense from where she was. And so I'm pretty sure she was sleeping on the couch when it fell over, and it freaked her out. And she just jumped out of, bed and onto the floor when it hit the ground, because I've, accidentally dropped stuff before when she's sleeping, and she freaks out and runs out of the bed because she's startled.
Yeah.
And so the only way I can think of is somehow this thing had like been rotated and then fell over, or levitated and rotated and fell over. And then another thing, when I tried to recreate it, was I was knocking it over just gently. The sound was not as loud as it was when I heard downstairs, which makes it seem like it hit the ground with more force, like it was thrown up in the air, or it was pushed down the ground with force or something. So I'm about 98% sure it was not her.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like completely 180 from where it was and tipped over. Yeah, that is. I see what you're saying. It's like an unnatural falling position.
Yeah, the good thing those things have a safety feature, though, that if they get off balance, they will shut off. So at least you didn't have to worry about a fire hazard with something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Luckily, I didn't have it turned on. It was plugged in, but it wasn't turned on.
Okay.
And it does have that safety feature, I think. But it just at first I didn't even think anything of it, but then once I kind of looked at it and was like, wait, how did it spin around? Yeah, it's just totally mind blowing that happened.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, the cord is facing this way, so it did spin. It did spin as it was falling, or something to that effect. You're right. The cord is going the wrong direction. You'd think it was just knocked over.
At least 180 degrees. Yeah, it's not even like a quarter turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, it's directly facing the opposite direction. It's as if it was spun and that caused it to fall, or it was spun as it fell. I don't know how, but that doesn't, in just an incidental contact, that doesn't seem likely, but that's pretty bizarre. They build those things with stability in mind, obviously.
Yeah.
Being a heater, they're weighted to be base heavy. They got that wider base to keep them stationary and secure. So they don't usually tip over easy. They're usually takes a pretty deliberate action to cause them to fall off balance, or at least a pretty significant.
Absolutely. If I give it a light punch, it won't fall over. If you just hit it lightly, it will not fall over.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's an angry reaction. Something's angry, perhaps. I don't know.
Well,
maybe just try to get a reaction out of you, cause some fear, get some control, that type of thing.
Could be. I don't know. So what's the vibe there, Android? What are you feeling?
It was fine. After it happened, I kind of felt uneasy, but I don't know if it's just because of the experience, but I kind of felt like last night I did kind of feel like, I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't alone, but I wouldn't say it felt bad or like a heavy presence or anything, but it did feel like, I wasn't alone or something, but it's been fine today and this evening, but it's, and I haven't done anything, what you had suggested yet about kind of laying the ground rules yet.
Yeah.
And I purposely decided, I was like, well, I wonder if I just ignore it, is it just going to just get madder, more mad and more mad, and just throw like a temper tantrum, and it seems like maybe that's what it's doing.
For some reason they seem, in certain cases, they seem to really want that recognition for whatever reasons I can't even begin to understand. But I think it's time to, lay down the law. Like, it seems to want you to know that it's there. Now, I don't know. Yeah. I truly think if evil is there, you're going to feel it. Like, you're going to just know it. It seems that people seem to be well aware when something really dark and sinister is around. It just seems to be built into us. And I've known you for a long time. I know that you're a sensitive to a degree, and you would probably pick up on that. But whatever it is, I don't know. I don't know what it's doing there. Maybe give Deb a call or see what she has to say. Get in touch with her to look into it a little more, because you certainly don't want to entertain something dark being there if it is indeed dark. I think the really dark, sinister things don't go out of their way to let you know they're there, because the object is to cause you problems and to, maybe wear you down in order to, it's like people talk about, oh, I know I'm dealing with a demon, the cereal bowl moved. And it's like, if it's a demon, it's not going to go out of its way to announce its presence. It tries to, the oppression can last for years of it just wearing you down. And the idea is it wants to destroy what you are. And so it's not going to wave a bunch of flags and have a bunch of fanfare like, I'm a demon, I'm here to wreck your days. It doesn't want you to know until it's late in the game, because that's the deal. They have nothing but time, So I think for whatever reason, it's being kind of loud and boisterous in this way. And, just lay down the law and see what shakes out of it. Maybe the recognition is all it wants. Like, hey, I'm here for whatever reason. How long have you lived there?
I've lived here for almost 6.5 years now.
Yeah, that's a long time. So it sounds like it's something that just kind of showed up for whatever reason. And maybe just have a talk like, hey, here's the deal. And if it doesn't, if it still escalates and still gets worse, then we have other things that we can certainly help you with taking care of that. So. But keep us posted as always, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I will. I really appreciate, the offer for help and everything. It really means a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen, Brent, maybe you've seen, but I don't know, maybe the channel won't ring a bell, but I'm sure if you saw the video, you'd probably seen it before. There's a YouTube channel called Ghost of Carmel, Maine. He was featured on, Paranormal Call on Camera and stuff. If you go through his videos, he has videos from years back. If you watch some of his first few videos, you could tell this guy has no idea what he's doing, like how to use a camera. He's using a crappy camera, can't even capture stuff at night hardly, and in dark. And you can tell this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And he's captured some insane stuff that I think is totally legitimate. And it kind of, and he captures this thing it can change form, humanoid form, like cat form, or just a blob flying through the air, and it's got me wondering if that's what it is. What is it? Could that even be human?
Sure.
Yeah, because I've seen it, and I saw it as a non-humanoid form. When I saw it on the peripheral vision, it was just, well, it could have been a humanoid form. It was straight up and down, skinny. It could have been something with its legs and arms together. But yeah, sure. It's really strange.
It is. That channel is pretty out of control too. I have seen it. I know that my good friend Kev Baker, he featured it many times on his show, and I believe even interviewed the guy. I should reach out to him and see if we can get him on the show to talk about his experiences, because the things he's captured are just mind-boggling. It's just wow. He's caught some really incredible footage, but he's been at it for years.
Yeah.
It's not like he compiled it all in a weekend. He's been at it for years.
Yeah, and I mean, he even offered in one of his original videos from long ago. I was literally going video by video, watching each one at one point. Mm-hmm. And at one, I was just I can't do this anymore. It's too much, because a lot of it's just nothing captured. But and he was listen, this is real. I offer anyone, any scientist or anyone to come here. Any money that's made off of this, I will donate it, but I can prove to you this is real.
Right.
And when he said that, I was my mind was blown,
Yeah, that's a pretty, if he's a scammer, he's risking a lot. Ghost Magnet in the chat says, ask Android if he's done an EVP yet. Have you tried to capture anything like that?
No, I haven't done anything like that, because the thing that worries me about that is if it is negative, I feel like that's just going to give it more fuel.
Sure, because when you're engaging something in contact, then you are giving it a green light in a manner of speaking to be there, and I think that can be real counterproductive for sure in spiritual measures. But to each his own. I know many people have investigated their own houses when they've had activity, and I don't know that it made it worse or not, but I just think it can be a bad thing, and I would advise a lot of caution to doing that.
Yeah, I mean, if this was a secondary house, as I had as an investment property, rental property where I wasn't staying all the time, I might be more open to try something like that. Sure. But since it's where I'm living, I'm a lot more on the fence about what I do.
Well, the other part of it is if you do capture something really creepy, then you got to live there after that. So sometimes
right.
Not knowing is better. So just some thoughts, but
Yeah.
anyway,
I thought of the same thing. I have one of these indoor cameras that I bought and I never set up. And I was thinking after this happened, I was thinking today, well, maybe I should set that up. And then I thought, well, what if I really did capture that teeter or something else like that levitating up in the air and then being dropped to the ground? I don't know if I could sleep in that room anymore.
Yeah, well, that's true. And the other part of it is that I will tell you that I've heard more and more claims lately of activity ramping up. And I don't know if it's something to do with, a global energy deal or what, but there does seem to be an increase of activity that's going on. So it's potential that it's something more people are dealing with now than before. But thank you so much for calling in, brother. It's great to hear from you.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing it. I really appreciate it. It's good to hear your insight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm always here, brother. Just reach out if you need me, okay?
All right. Appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
All right. Good night.
You as well, Android.
Oh, it's turning into a family reunion here. Huh. Little minions here. We're all here. Got three branches of the family tree represented right here. And I'm sure,
all right.
I'm sure Portal Mom's out there listening too. So we're all over the place.
Family reunion. Yeah.
Huh? Grandma? Yeah. Her chat name is Portal Mom in the show here. So she's probably out there too. And she's going, oh, there he is. So
there he is.
There he is. Let's get to, I wanted to do some Phantoms and Monsters stuff, but we're down to actually 4 minutes left. So I think I'll just stick with this article and read one or two more, just judging on the, oh man, this one's probably about 4 minutes of reading. So
let's do it.
All right. This one is number 7, Blood Trail to Nowhere. And hey, Pikachu, now the cats are coming in. Hey, let's have a party. Woo! Blood Trail to Nowhere. You sure you want to hear this? Might be spooky. Are you sure? Okay. All right. EMS called to a house with police at around 3 a.m. It was a relatively small shared house with a lot of rooms and people who don't know each other living there. Caller reported there is blood everywhere, all on the walls, staircase, in the kitchen, on the doorstep. He thinks one of the upstairs residents is into dodgy stuff, which I assume was meant to be a crime of some kind or whatever. Well, we open the door, and sure enough, there's blood everywhere. It's all over the floor and on the way up the stairs. Goes into the kitchen, too, but stops at the back door. There's a pool on the front doorstep, but not a big one. Well, a couple of cops go upstairs ahead of me, and I'm there thinking, well, if someone's lost this much blood, there isn't a great deal we can do for them anyway. And whoever did it is still in the house. We're about to have a major scrap on our hands. In the UK, police are unarmed. We go to the door, and the dodgy guy is in and knock. He kind of answers like, yeah. The cops say that they're the police, and they need to have a word with him. He comes to the door in pajama trousers and said he was asleep. He's not injured and has no blood on him. There's none in his room. He lets the cops have a search, and his room is all fine. Seems like a regular guy to me. We all speak to all the other neighbors in the house, and the cops search their rooms, and nothing. No one heard anything that they told us anyway, and no one had anything suspicious in their room. And there was no blood in anyone's bedrooms. It was only on the stairs, hallways, kitchen, and the front doorstep. The two cops call for a dog unit to attend and search the area, and the dog arrives but tracks the blood no further than the front doorstep. Whatever has caused the blood to be there seemed to still be in the house, and we had no idea whose blood it was, although I thought it could be potential to have been an animal's blood somehow, but unless it was a large animal, there's way too much for that, and I hope we'd found a bleeding large animal in our search. I had control pestering me to redeploy to another job, so I thanked the cops and helping me clear the house and said I had to go, and they said they were going to go do a wider search and then resume as well, as there was nothing they could find. I never heard anything more about it, and as far as I know, there was no murders or anything like that reported after the incident, so it's still an absolute mystery. That was submitted by the sheepdog. That is weird. That's weird. Of course, that's another phenomena that is reported sometimes. Thank you, Ron the Sage. Thank you so much. Says, great show. I appreciate it, Ron. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in and checking it out. But
thank you, Ron.
That's not a claim you hear very often, though, as far as people have claimed bleeding walls. There was actually a precinct in Georgia. I read about it in Charles Berlitz's book. It was The World of the Unexplained or something like that. And it was a police precinct that had bleeding walls, and they tested the blood. It was human blood, but it was coming from the walls. So I don't know. It's a strange thing. I have no idea what causes that to happen, but as far as I know, the blood does not originate in walls. But there's the bell, folks. We're all out of time. Just know that we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. Say good night.
Huh?